Well, we begin this edition of the Urban Debate with the latest that's coming in the Sushant probe case, and the post-mortem report has been accessed. The post-mortem report of Sushant Singh, which we have been highlighting repeatedly, nobody had the hands on. Everybody was speculating so far. That post-mortem report, a copy of which Mirror Now has now accessed. And one interesting part is the fact that the time of death is not mentioned. Now, it may not be it may not be mandatory to do so, but it is usually mentioned in the post-mortem report. Sandhya, in fact, will be joining me with the details. We'll also have Neha and Mayuresh, who've been tracking this story. Tonight, we're going to get you all the angles here on the Sushant case. Day one of the CBI investigation, series of fast-paced developments, a fast-track investigation is the indication we're getting from the CBI. But first up, let me see if I can go across to Sandhya to get you more details on what is it that the autopsy report really says. Sandhya?
So Tanvi, as you were rightly mentioning about the time of death, so as you said that it doesn't really, it's extremely alarming, but it is also not quite, it's not that common, and that too in a case where autopsy was not really delayed. We're talking about Sushant Singh Rajput case where the autopsy was done on the same night of the incident, so there wasn't a significant delay. So why exactly that was not mentioned is something which actually needs a clarification, because in the beginning, when only a couple of pages of the report were out and the time was not mentioned, at that time police off record was trying to say that how it's a query and all the queries which remains unanswered on a couple of pages can be answered in other pages, and now all the pages of the report are out, and that thing as far as timing of death is concerned, Tanvi, that still needs a clarification. But one thing which is again apart from the time of death is extremely significant here, that there is no external injury marks, and which means it rules out any prior struggle, tiff, scuffle, or any external force which was there. So that's an extremely important takeaway from this post-mortem report, Tanvi, because Mumbai police from the very beginning has maintained that there is absolutely no foul play. It's a clear-cut suicide case, and there were no external injury marks on Sushant's body, and now they have this post-mortem report to back their claim, of course. But CBI teams are going to examine, experts from the teams are going to examine this post-mortem report, Tanvi, and the questioning of Cooper Hospital doctors who conducted this autopsy is going to, the time of death not being mentioned is going to be a major angle of that questioning round, Tanvi.
Okay, Sandhya, let's take it point by point, page by page. And I also want to emphasize this to our viewers, that Mirror Now and Sandhya did access one single page earlier, but because we did not have the entire report, which would give us a complete picture, we chose not to bring it to you, not to speculate, not to mislead our viewers. Now that we have more details, page after page, each column and what the description is, we want to take you through it without still jumping to conclusion about what this possibly means. We are no experts. We can only tell you what we know from our own experience in terms of following these reports in similar cases. So, Sandhya, the most important is page number 3. And this is the one that goes into details of the marks, any injuries that have been found on his body. A lot of this will be analyzed in detail by the forensic experts, by the doctors, to see what it really means, to analyze and a double check on the hanging part, if this is how he was hanged, or there was any foul play. Now, I want you to take us through those details. What does the post-mortem mention about these marks? What's visible, what's not?
See, Tanvi, as far as external injury marks are concerned, that is clarified that no external injury marks were there. Now, ligature marks nature is explained in those columns, how deep it was, how wide it was, and that's the part where the expertise will be required to understand that whether or not there is anything wrong there or not, because as you rightly mentioned, we are no experts to say that to what extent the depth or the width of that ligature mark is okay, or the shape of that ligature mark is okay or not. That is something that is going to need expertise. But from what we have seen in the past, from that part also doesn't really raise any suspicion. Ligature marks also actually indicate towards a suicide, but that's going to be the key point where the expertise of teams which are brought by CBI are going to play an extremely important role. They have teams from AIMS to look into this. So that's the ligature marks nature is going to be a crucial point in the injury in the post-mortem report here, Tanvi.
Yes, absolutely. You're right there, Santi, and that's what they will be analyzing. But like you said, and one other important part is that where it mentions these marks, the ligament ruptures and goes into extensive details about that, the follow-up question is, can you say definitely that the injuries shown against serial number 17 and 18 are ante-mortem injuries? And the answer to that in the corresponding column is yes, ante-mortem, which is what Santi was also highlighting. It's not as if he was, a stun gun was used on him or he was beaten up badly before he died. That's what is clearer from this post-mortem report. Now, I will request Santya and Mayuresh and Neha to stay on with us, because we will go step by step and angle by angle to bring the facts. But because we have this autopsy report and the important crucial pages of it, let me quickly go across to Dr. Amarnath Mishra, Senior Faculty for Forensic Expert and Medical Legal Consultant. Dr. Mishra, my first question to you, what is the rule or usual practice about mentioning the time of death in the post-mortem report?
On the basis of post-mortem changes, we provide the time since death. We determine the time since death. Like rigor mortis, there is a post-mortem staining. Yeah, you.
Dr. Mishra, is it odd that the time of death is not mentioned in this specific case? It's not as if we found the body days later or it was decomposed. Do you find this odd in any manner, because that the time of death is not mentioned in Sushant's post-mortem report?
Yes, this is odd because we should provide the time since death. On the basis of post-mortem changes, I already told you that there is a different changes after death, like cooling of the body, there is the rigidity of the muscles, and near about in this current situation, there is occurrence of rigor mortis, starting of the rigor mortis, and also complete the whole duration of the rigor mortis that required 24 to 36 hours. As per the book's language, and practically near about 24 to 28 hours presently. And there was big requirements for mentioning the time since death. That is a very important things for in the cases of medical legal reports, because generally we process for the process for cause of death, as well as manner of death, mode of death, mechanism of death, and also we determined what is the time since death. So on the basis of time since death, we can determine, we can guess, we can reconstruct that what happened and when. Like if that time is 12, that is the 1 or 2 a.m. in late night, and if that is in the day times, so that is also determining the motto. Yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you this, because you mentioned the rigor mortis, Dr. Amarnath Mishra. The post-mortem report for the rigor mortis part says well marked and present over upper limbs and lower limbs. No sign of decomposition. Post-mortem lividity seen over back, more on distal aspect of upper and lower limbs. So does this give you any indication?
Yes, that is there is a presence of rigidity. It means it is within near about 18 to 24 hours. Means after 12 hours that we can say about time 18 to 20 hours. On the basis we can only tell about the time when that actual that time happened. What was the time? How much duration passed?
Okay, all right. And the fact that this postmortem mentions that whatever abrasion marks, ligature marks are present with no external injuries, but ligature marks and pressure abrasion around the neck. It goes on to then say that these marks and these injuries are ante-mortem. Will that help the authorities rule out foul play in this case?
Pressure abrasion generally takes place. There is a pressure comes due to the body weight and constriction force of the ligature. So there is a pressure abrasion, and also in cases of if we are saying that this is the ante-mortem hanging. So means ante-mortem hanging means the death generally takes place due to hanging. Okay. But postmortem hanging means if there is the other way of killing the person and hang at the ligature. So if there is person unconscious at that position that time, so there is also that pressure abrasion takes place. And yes, we can say this is the ante-mortem injury.
So just to simplify this, Dr. Mishra, and this is my last question to you. If a person is already dead and then that person is hanged, and you see those ligature marks around your neck, will those be called post-mortem then? If it's called ante-mortem, does it mean that that's how he died?
We need incision of that area to find out that there is any bruise also takes place or not. There is the accumulation of the blood or not. So we need incision at that area of the neck. So we can confirm that is the ante-mortem or post-mortem. And also there is a healing of that.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mishra. Yes, I understand that you would want to see the report in detail yourself before you give your more detailed views, and perhaps at a later time we will have more conversation. Thank you for speaking with us right now. So these are the key headlines coming out of the postmortem report. A detailed investigation and a study and analysis will of course be done by the forensic experts now under the leadership of the CBI. So let me just tell you that the postmortem report does not mention the time of the death. It does not mention any external injuries. It speaks about ligature marks on Sushant's body around the neck and goes on to say that these are all ante-mortem. There is no other mention of significant injuries or that were found on his body, and we've gone through multiple pages of this post-mortem report right now. That being said, let's tell you what the CBI has been doing on day number 1 of its investigation here in Mumbai. It looks like a fast-paced investigation. They split up into two multiple teams, went to different places, one to the residence, one to the Bandra police station, started recording statements, have taken over all of the case files. So it's been quite a hectic day on day 1 itself. Let me see if I can go across to Neha first. Neha, you've been tracking the activities at the Bandra police station. Take us through what happened today.
Tanvi, it's been an active day as far as day one is considered. The fact that CBI has been in Mumbai, we saw that how they divided themselves into teams and spoke to the key witnesses as far as this case is concerned. Two being definitely Sushant Singh Rajput Cook, Neeraj, and also Samuel Miranda, who was his manager then. At the same time, we also know that they have parked themselves at the Bandra police station. If we can show you, this is the Bandra police station in the western suburbs. They've been there for almost 10 hours now. They were there. They met the DCP Zone 9, Abhishek Trimukhe, who headed the investigation when the case was with Mumbai Police. And then a couple of officials moved from here to Bandra police stations. And when they did that, they had some case files and laptop with them. The laptop being, which we are guessing is definitely of late actor Sushant Singh Rajput. They had the other case files with them. And then later, for about more than 10 hours, they've been here with the police station. Definitely this process, as how the CBI conducts investigation, which we know is time taking. They will have to go through and the entire evidence that's been collected since the past 2 months. Mumbai police also spoke to about more than 50 key witnesses when Sushant Singh Rajput, when they were investigating the case. So all of those statements will now be even taken, handed over to the CBI, and they will have to look into it. Apart from that, we also understand that the CBI has also got the digital video copy of the CCTV cameras from Rajput building, which was not, which was said to be not working then. So even that they will check whether any tampering was done. So definitely for the first day, we understand that while two key witnesses related to Rajput were spoken to, but mainly their task has been to get all the evidence in place from Mumbai police so that they can begin the questioning of the other witnesses in the days to come.
Okay, so that's as far as, the taking over of the details, the statements, the files, case diaries, all that the Mumbai police have is concerned. But, what have they been doing in terms of recording the statements? Let me go back to our other reporters for that. And Mayuresh, let me come to you. The CBI team is, of course, staying at the DRDO guest house. But, how did they split up into teams? Who's looking into what aspect?
See, as Neha told us that the CBI has divided their teams, and one of the teams is right now here at the DRDO guest house. I'll ask my camera person Vinayak to show you the visuals. You can see this is the DRDO guest house just next in the Kalina area. I beg your pardon, Wakola area. So what is happening here at 10 a.m. Neeraj, Sushant's house help has been summoned. He is there. Still he is there. CBI is recording his statement. They are asking him several questions. And today, if we go, if we see how CBI has basically aimed today's investigation. So today's investigation was more focused about getting more information regarding the 13th night and 14th entire day. So they want to know that who all were present there, what exactly happened, and who saw what. And the first person account they want to know, and that's why they had called Neeraj, because Neeraj was the person who was both the days he was there. It is said that Sushant last had a conversation with Neeraj about his breakfast and about everything. So they wanted to have more information about Sushant and about the night of 13th and entire day of 14th. That's why Sushant has been, Neeraj has been called. We have been also given to understand after Neeraj, CBI may call Siddharth Mithani, who was his flatmate, was staying with him, because these statements are why these statements are crucial. Because on the basis of these statements, CBI will further go ahead and they do the recreation of the crime at Sushant's place where he was founded. So these statements are important for that.
All right. In fact, one team, like our reporters were mentioning, also went to Sushant's residence. Antya, coming to you regarding that. Now, one person who has been questioned by the Mumbai police, we've also spoken to him at some point, is Neeraj, part of the entire team that ran Sushant's house. Take us through what happened today. What did they ask him? Who all will they be, speaking to?
So Tanvi, Neeraj is a key witness in this case. He was a key witness from Mumbai police as well, and same is the role for CBI, because he was the one who was present in the house at the time of the death. And not just that, he was Sushant's cook / household. So he was communicating with Sushant on a daily basis, on a regular basis for that matter. That's why when CBI started questioning him, the line of questioning, the ambit of investigation, ambit of questioning was this. how was Sushant a day before and the night before his death, whether or not he had his dinner, whether or not he ate, and when did the people in the house realize that he was not answering to the calls and the knockings on the door, and who informed Meetu Singh, and apart from that, who called the keymaker, who called Mumbai police, who actually brought the body down, who asked the people present in the house to bring the body down, and apart from that, who all were visiting him in last few days of his death, and who were living in the house since last 6 months, before 6 months of the incident. These were the questions CBI were asking Neeraj, and the answers to this are going to be crucial. And his statement was something which was recorded by Mumbai police also in the initial days itself, Tanvi, as he is the key witness here, the one who was present in the house at the time of the incident. And Mumbai police has maintained that in his statement also there was nothing which raised any suspicion for that matter. So whether or not CBI will find out anything which will not add up to what the case is being presented as of now, that will be interesting to see. But Neeraj's statement is going to be very, very crucial for CBI as well. Tanvi.
All right, Sandhya, thanks so much for bringing us all of those details. Today was only day one, but the CBI team moving very quickly in this case already. So many days have gone by when the Mumbai police was looking at this case, so they obviously want to move quickly. Now, a fresh controversy also emerged, and this is what was being brought out by the Sushant's family side. It is because news came out that Rhea Chakravarti was and visited the mortuary where Sushant's remains had been kept. Now, this has become a big controversy because many are asking, well, if she was not with him anymore in a relationship, with what authority was she allowed to enter, visit the mortuary? Who gave that permission? These are the questions that are being asked. In fact, let's listen into Vikas Singh, Sushant's family lawyer, who raised this issue as well.
कि मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता किस हैसियत से रिया मॉर्चुरी में गई। रिया का लिव इन रिलेशनशिप अगर जो क्लेम भी करती हैं, वो लिव इन रिलेशनशिप भी खत्म हो गया था 8 जून को। 8 जून के बाद उनका कोई स्टेटस नहीं था सुशांत सिंह राजपूत की जिंदगी में, और सुशांत की बहन मौजूद थी मुंबई में। तो जब उसकी बहन मौजूद थी तो किसी और को उसके डेड बॉडी के पास जाना या मॉर्चुरी में जाने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं बनता। तो अगर वो गई हैं तो बिल्कुल गैर कानूनी तरीके से गई हैं, और अगर मुंबई पुलिस ने अलाउ किया उनको जाने के लिए तो मुंबई पुलिस को इस बात का जवाब देना पड़ेगा कि किस हैसियत से उन्होंने रिया को अलाउ किया जाने के लिए।
Well, so that's what Vikas Singh had to say. Of course, one needs to also understand, even if she did, what could it have led to in terms of impacting the case or investigation in any manner, even if somebody did allow her to go and see the one she had been in relationship with for over a year.